Welcome to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Antonia and I guide women to embrace and embody their beautiful feminine energy through the power of inner healing. And when I say feminine energy, I mean the deep essence, the deep power of your feminine presence. That woman that is locked deep inside of you, that you most probably almost like fear stepping into. This is the feminine energy I talk about. And in this video, as you've already seen from the title, we're going to talk about why is your feminine essence feeling weak? And how are you diluting your feminine power? And if you see me looking down, it is because I have plenty of notes for this video, because speaking of diluting your feminine power, I am admitting that I have been diluting mine. And one way I've been doing this is specifically with YouTube, because I have been keeping my videos very short, or at least shorter than what I would want them to be, because as a new creator on YouTube with a really small audience, I thought, well, I'll follow the advice of social media people of like keeping videos short and trying to make thumbnails interesting and whatnot. And I admit that to an extent, I have been deluding myself, to a very big extent, actually, to a huge degree. And that being said, I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'll try to keep it as short as I can, but I would finish it when I feel like my flow of energy has reached you to its maximum potential, not when the video should end, if that makes sense. So starting right off, actually another disclaimer, I'll try not to go blind in this video because the sun is literally blasting at me, which I'm really grateful for, but it's really hot and it's making me difficult to see. So if I'm not focusing where I should be, it's the sun. Anyways, let's start with the first part of the video, and we're going to talk about the reasons why your feminine energy feels weak. And from my personal experience, as well as working with women and communicating with women on a daily basis, one hurdle that I see very often is this softness versus weakness kind of thing. And it's when women don't understand how powerful being soft actually is. And an example I like to give very often is the water element, which is one of the most feminine elements you can possibly think of. And when you think of a pool of water, like an ocean or the sea or the river, a lake, it pretty much has no shape and form. You cannot really see the separate molecules and stuff, but the power of how soft the water is, that softness is carving into rocks, it's shaping riverbanks. And this is the power of the feminine softness we are talking about. It's how the flow of the river, with how devoted to its direction it is, and it's reaching wherever it has to go, like the flow of the river. Think of like the source of the river being a mountain and how it's going through. I don't know why I'm like envisioning the Danube River, probably because I'm in Bulgaria, but think like how it starts from the mountain and how it's flowing through so many countries, and it has its own flow, and eventually it reaches its final destination. That doesn't happen fast. It doesn't happen like at an instant, but it's so focused and yet so flowy. This is the softness that we're talking about. Because soft doesn't mean weak, because weak as a woman, a weak woman, is a woman who is afraid to have an opinion because she fears that her opinion may be different. And because of that difference in opinions, she may trigger somebody. So she would rather not have an opinion. She would rather not state her needs. Like an example that comes in my mind is when in partnership, when in a relationship with a man, are you sharing your needs with him? Are you sharing your fantasies, even when it comes to the bedroom? If there is something that you would like him to do that will please you, are you sharing it? Or you think that, oh well, he may think that I'm not happy with him or I don't love him, so I would rather zip it, keep myself quiet. It's a weird example, but it is again the softness of the woman versus weakness. Because when we talk weakness, we talk about a woman who is not aware of her power first, and two, how to work with her energy, how to work with her power. And that brings me to you outsourcing your energy towards others. And this is something that we've all done many times. I've done that many times. And what I mean by that, think of yourself as like your body as a container. And in that container is your feminine essence, your feminine energy. And think 100%. Your energy goes up to 100%. And so you think, oh, I have to pay the bills. So that is like 7% of your energy is going towards the bills that you're not paying right now, but you're just thinking, I have to do that. And then another 10-15% is going towards a different direction, thinking, oh, why has my man not replied? Why has he not messaged me? So that's another 15%. Then you have another whatever many percent towards a different direction, thinking, oh, I need to ring my mom and remind her for her appointment or whatever. These are just wild guesses, but do you see what I mean? Like when you're getting ready to go to work and you're thinking about all the stuff that you have to do today, and with every thought of like where your energy has to go, you're literally sending it away. And then you and I are sat here and you're literally running on such a low energy because for the majority of the day you have been outsourcing it everywhere. And here is where being present come into play. And we've heard that so many times. Feminine energy is about being present. Yeah, but what does it mean, being present? Well, being present means your energy is streamlined wherever you are at the moment. So right now I am filming this video where I'm talking to you literally as my bestie, sharing my knowledge on feminine energy and how to engage with your power and how to stop diluting. So right now 100% of my energy is streamlined and it's focused towards my iPhone, towards you, towards recording that message with the capacity, the maximum capacity of who I am, energy wise. I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm starting to get hungry, what I'm going to eat. The weather is amazing, so I want to take myself on a solo date, even though I've been to one yesterday. That I need to edit some videos. No, I'm not thinking about that because I am not there yet. I am here. And I find that this is, again, such a big challenge to remain present, to manage to stay present in what you're doing and shutting off your mind when you've got a million things to do because you're a busy woman. And that is the key. It's reminding yourself that the minute you start to outsource your energy, what happens is lack of presence. And when you're in a state of lack of presence, you're not magnetic, not because you didn't do your makeup right this morning, not because you have had a little too many cheat dates lately and you've had an extra piece of baklava, just saying, but because your energy is elsewhere. It's not within your container, it's outside of you. Like, because think about it, thoughts are energy, thoughts are clusters of energy, and it's clusters of your energy. And so when you send your energy towards different directions but you're not there, this is what happens. There is very little left within your container. Because I always like to say that your body is your sacred temple where your inner goddess lives. And your inner goddess is your feminine essence, is your feminine power. It's that magnetic, alluring, super juicy creative energy that you naturally have. And that is a fact. This is not me playing your delulus. This is an absolute fact. Every woman has it. And it's when you manage to stay in there. And that brings me to another example, kind of personal, because it's got to do with my mom. And that actually reminds me that one of the challenges that I'm dealing with is, apart from working on myself and helping other women with their journey, the struggle that I've had is that I try to remain present with, even though I don't like it, is to understand that I cannot help my mom with shifting into her softness and into her feminine side because she doesn't see it the way I see it. And for example, I am staying with my mom at the minute, and I can see my old self within her. I can see how she's responding and how she's reacting, or shall I say, how she's reacting instead of responding in situations. And every time I look at her, I'm like, this is so the old Antonia. She would do the exact same thing. She would snap the exact same way. She would rush it the exact same way. Every time we have to go somewhere, or even if I'm making breakfast, and I'm taking my time because I don't like to rush it. This is one thing that I've learned and I've worked very hard on, and this is one thing that I teach in Awaken Her: how to remain present and how to be connected with what you're doing. And every time my mom sees me doing something, she's like, oh, let me do it for you because you're so slow. And I'm like, I'm not slow. I am being present. I know how to make scrambled eggs for a minute and a half, but I would rather take my time. I would stir them very slowly. I would have them on lower heat. I don't want to have it snap, 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 because this is dysregulating me. This is like bringing me anxiety. And where am I rushing for? Where? I'm not rushing for anywhere. I like to be present because this is another thing. Intuition, which is the language of your inner goddess, as I like to say, your intuition speaks to you when you're present. And this is why working with your womb, like doing womb meditations, womb activations, is key to connecting with your intuition and to receiving guidance. But that doesn't happen in 2 minutes. It happens when you really slow down and when you're really present with yourself. Just checking the mic is on because we never know. It's Mercury retrograde. So that is the thing. And another example I can give of when you're not being present and when you're rushing through is like you become clumsy. You're constantly dropping things. And this is one thing again that pops into my mind about my mom. This woman, honestly, it's such a fun to live with her. I lived on my own for 15 years, and I've recently, a couple months, I came back to Bulgaria and I'm staying with my mom, and living with her is like so much fun because this woman is just so funny. Like she would constantly hit her pinky or her leg or her knee, and she'd be like, "Oh, I hit myself again every time at the same place, every time on the same spot. Why is this happening to me?" And I just so want to tell her, because you are so into your masculine, and a woman living in her masculine and being in her masculine for a continuous amount of time becomes a clumsy disaster. It's what it is. But as you can imagine, the times when I've tried to explain that to her, I would not be received and she would get defensive, which I understand, which is why you should never really force your advice or help onto others, especially when people are not there yet. And like I said, it's a challenge for me to not being able to help my mom when I help so many women who are complete strangers who then turn into friends, and I'm really grateful for it. But this is another lesson I guess I need to learn. And that's the thing. You become so clumsy when you're not present. You become so disorganized and your attention is nowhere to be found. That is why your feminine essence feels weak, why your feminine energy feels weak, because you're running on very low. Because at the end of the day, in your sacred container, there is so little energy left because you've outsourced it. And then imagine you're running on 20% of feminine juice within you, and you want to cook a delicious meal. Well, first of all, you don't have the willingness to do it. Second of all, you're going to do it and it's just not going to turn out tasty. You've put all the ingredients, you've followed the recipe, and it's just not tasty. And you're wondering why. Or you want to create something, but you're not happy with the way it turns out. And I've had that many times with videos where I've been rushing through the day doing things because, you know, had to do something and I wasn't conscious and I wasn't present. And then I'm like, I need to sit and create content. I need to have that video ready. And I would film it and I would try to rush it. Then at the end, I'm like, that video is a crap. I don't want to post it because it's not me, because I'm not flowing. But then I'm thinking, with all the social media advice, you have to post, you have to post, you have to put yourself out there, even if you feel uncomfortable. And you put it, and then it doesn't it it doesn't bring the audience that you want to connect with because you were not in a flow. A lesson learned the hard way, but here we are, moving forward and thriving. So this is the reason why your feminine energy feels weak. And moving on to part two is ways how you're diluting yourself. And I think I touched base on some of the ways how we're literally diluting the magic juice, your magic feminine energy, because it is magic. I mean, if a woman can create a baby, if it can create a whole human being, bring another soul into this world, or let's leave the babies aside, because I know that there are so many women nowadays who choose to live child free. So let's give another example that they can fit in. And creating something from within you, creating an art, a painting, or creating your blog on Instagram, or just doing something out of nothing, because you take it from within you and you give it physical shape and form. That is the magic of the feminine energy and the feminine presence. And The first way how you and how you're diluting your beautiful feminine essence is when you're spilling your energy. And for this example, I want to give you an actual example. So imagine this bottle, right? It's got a certain shape and it's got water inside. Okay? And now imagine this cup. Again, it's a container. It's got my green tea. It's a container for energy, for water. So think of the two containers, the bottle and the glass and the cup. They're so different, and yet they can contain energy. And so the way water looks in this bottle is not as beautiful as it does in this cup, right? Because this cup has different, let's put them, let's call them boundaries. I didn't want to bring the word boundaries into this video, but I suppose we're gonna have to. Think of the shape of this cup, the shape of this, well, yeah, it's a cup, as boundaries, as opposed to these boundaries. Which one looks more appealing to you? Which one looks more beautiful to you? The same thing happens when you lack shape. And when I say lack shape, I don't mean physical shape. I mean when you don't have your boundaries and you put up with anything and everything you come across. Gosh, I'm sweating, can you see? Anyways, when you don't have these boundaries, you don't feel as appealing because your energy is spilling as per the shape and form that you've been put inside, metaphorically speaking. And so if you've been placed in a situation where you're at the losing end because you don't have boundaries, because you're afraid to speak up for yourself, you take the shape and form of the situation that you're in. And I know that this is not an easy example to comprehend. Maybe I should have used better glasses, and I'm just looking at this over here. Actually, let's do this. Okay, we have new containers. We have a small one and we have a big one. They're crystal. This is my mom's crystal glass, wine, whiskey, whatever. So these are very different, right? This is a very small container and this is a bigger container. But either way, they both fit your energy in a certain shape and form. And when you start working on your boundaries, meaning you start to draw your, if you imagine yourself as a country, I know I'm giving many examples, but this is what's popping in my head. If you imagine yourself as a country, your boundaries represent your borders, because if you don't have borders, everybody can trespass and come and take whatever they want whenever they want, and you would just sit quiet idly and be fine with it, even though you're not on the inside. And so when it comes to having your boundaries, which you respect, by the way, because this is another struggle that we face when we start working with boundaries and building boundaries, is that we have things that we're not happy with and we would expect other people to honor them, but when it comes to us, we don't honor them. And so of course, like attracts like, and other people start to not honor and not respect our boundaries because they see that we ourselves don't. And so when you create your boundaries, you become so magnetic, you become so alluring. It's like people naturally wanna drink from this because it just looks so beautiful. It looks so put together, if you wish. And I don't know if you have that with the cups and the mugs that you drink coffee or tea from. Like for me, it always has to be like has to be very pretty. Look at that. How nice is that? I could have made that tea in just a normal cup, but it wouldn't give me the same feeling as this one does. And so, going back to the example, how you're spilling your energy versus how you are maintaining your energy and how are you shaping your energy, in what container it is, says a lot about whether you're diluting yourself or not. And this brings me also to the example of creating videos for YouTube that are a certain length or in a certain way. I was diluting myself in that way because imagine that this is how much water, like, what is this, 850 ml of water. This is my energy. But then I have to dilute this energy in a teeny tiny small cup because these are the parameters of the social media platform, for example, right? So I had to put just a teeny tiny bit inside that fits the size. And this was a way how I was diluting myself. So you can literally pause the video and think of one example, one way in whichever area of your life, whether it's in you creating, whether it's in you and your relationships, you and your children, or you and your parents, friends, whatever, career, one way. How are you diluting yourself? How are you diluting yourself? And why are you doing it? That is literally where your inner work starts. Moving on to the next reason why and how, ways how you're diluting yourself, and that is when you put others first. That is when you put other people's needs, desires, and opinions above yours. And this comes in one simple way how I can phrase it, and that is self abandonment. And that brings me to, again, when you're outsourcing yourself, but this time you do it for other people. So this friend called you last minute, they need you, but you have so many things, you are going to leave this aside and you're going to go there. Or you're at home and you're with your family or with your husband, boyfriend, whatever, you're ordering food and you're going to do whatever they like to please them. Silly examples, but think of all the ways how you are abandoning who you are. Your needs are not met. Your desires are not answered. When you don't answer the callings of your inner goddess, how do you expect her to thrive and create? And one of the reasons, and that's a triggering one, but I'm going to say it. One of the reasons, the main reasons why we put our people's needs and desires and wishes and whatnot, opinions before ours is, as women, this is particularly for women, is because, come closer, because you are afraid of the power your feminine energy holds. Because if we have to be very honest here, rising into your feminine power includes always 100% triggering other people. And it starts with your family and friends. Do you know how many friends I have lost on the journey of becoming the woman I am today? Because I sit here right now, and I talk to you very confidently and very boldly. This wasn't me a couple years ago. I was afraid to voice my opinion because I was afraid that other people wouldn't accept it. And if they don't accept it, how do I keep myself composed? And that is the thing. When you embrace your power, meaning when you embrace your authenticity and you stay true to the woman you are, you are going to be polarizing. You are not going to be loved and appreciated by others. Do you know how many family member family members I have, and friends as well, who know about what I do, and they're never amongst the supporters. When they see me face to face, they would say, I love what you do, I love your energy. Yet these are the type of people that never even like or subscribe to what I do. How do you think I accept that? Just like so. You understand that when you embrace your calling, when you embrace your power, your purpose, you don't do it for your family and friends to support you. You do it because this is your inner calling. You do it because this is your purpose from within. This is how you transform, this is how you evolve, and this is how you rise into that magnetic woman. You are no longer afraid to speak up, you're no longer afraid to position yourself, you're no longer fearing how much space you're gonna take up. I take as much space as I need, whether it's gonna be this glass or whether it's gonna be the bigger one. My energy is amplifying when I do what I do, and that's okay. And if you don't like it, that is totally fine, because you and I are not the same person. You and I don't share the same journey, and you and I are allowed to like different and to be different. And so if you don't like what I do, if you don't understand it, that's absolutely totally fine. See you next time. And so think about it. What would it take? That brings me to the next part of the video, which is the homecoming, and it's the last part, I promise. But that is the homecoming. And in order to come back to yourself, but not the self you remember as a little girl, no. The self that is going to transform your entire life, but not through hustle, but through moving with the flow. Remember how, as I was explaining about the flow and the journey of the Danube River and any other river on the planet for that sake? But think about it. What would it mean to you to come home to yourself? What are the ways how you can support yourself? What are the ways how you can truly embrace your needs and your desires? This isn't about you visualizing a CEO boss or these high value women that we hear about on social media, these women who come from money and they run this huge corporation. This isn't about this, okay? This isn't about you finding an influencer with like millions of subscribers who's changed their entire appearance and they have nothing to do look wise with who they were before all the surgeries and before all this, and you're like, oh, I want to be like her. No, no, this is about you and the woman that lives within you. Like, what type of business does she run, or what type of career does she have? Like, how does she create, how does she speak, how does she move? If money, time, distance, if any of those were not a thing, they were not a challenge, who would you be? Who would you be? Who is the woman behind the screen right now? watching this, who would she be? How would she speak? Like, from within, this is the woman that you keep locked inside of you. And she is the goddess. She carries all the codes to abundance. And when I say abundance, I don't refer just to wealth. I talk about wealth, love, health, happiness, everything. Abundance in every single aspect of the word abundance, because abundance is your birthright, and that is a fact. So that is one thing that you need to reflect on. What would it take to you to come back to home? And the second question, which is even more triggering, is who or what would you have to leave behind? Because that, my love, is where you truly unlock your power. And when I say who would you have to leave behind, to a very big degree, it's your old identity. It's your old ways of how you communicate, of how you try to suppress your spark and to suppress your light. You know what? Let me give you a very quick example. Many years ago, when I say many, I mean probably 6, 7 years, I had a friend that is obviously no longer a friend. And at first we were really good friends for a couple of years, and then she started changing because her interests started changing, my interests started changing as well. And she would always ask me to speak about philosophy and my opinions and the ways I see the world and whatnot. And we would talk about it like friends over a cup of coffee. And it came to the point where a few years had passed and we hadn't seen each other for a couple of months. I felt like we have grown apart so much that we barely had what to discuss and talk about. And I remember when I told her that I don't think we have much in common anymore, and that doesn't mean that I am the better person and she is not, or vice versa, but we're just different. And she told me at the time, yeah, because you always talk about yourself. I promise you, from that moment onwards, I stopped sharing my experience because I felt like when I was talking about myself, I was almost like casting a shadow over other people. But guess what? I am learning how to share about me and how to share about my experience without making it about me, but because this is what helps other people to understand different aspects and different type of experiences. And so because of that girl who was a frenemy all the time, who was asking me every time we would meet over coffee, she would ask me, tell me something inspirational, tell me something philosophical, and then she would use my story for her Instagram stories and Instagram posts. But when we separated our ways, she told me, you're so selfish, you always talk about you. So this is something that I've been working on for so many years now because of that girl. And this is what I mean. Who or what would you have to leave behind in order to come back home to yourself? I'm gonna love you and leave you this because there is a lot that we've unfolded in this video. And if it resonated with you, if there is something that you felt inspired over or felt like hitting home, let me know in the comments. I love reading about your experiences and what my videos bring to you or what they unlock within you. And as always, sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.